The greatest prospect in NBA history. The future of the NBA. A man literally made in a lab for one reason and one reason only: to dominate basketball. That is Victor Wembanyama, and this season him and the Spurs have done exactly that. That was until he had to come up against a 6'2", 37-year-old on the second night of a back-to-back.
Curry for the lead, he got it! Steph's got 33!
After getting destroyed by the OKC Thunder, which doesn't look as bad after what they just did to the Lakers, there was some tension in the Warriors locker room. Entering the game 6-6 on the season and facing one of the best teams and players in the league in their building, this felt like a make or break game early in the season for the Dubs. And just like every make or break game the Warriors have, it was that same guy who delivered. That same guy who now has the second most 40-point games by a 30-year-old in NBA history, only behind, And with the Warriors trailing by 10 points 3 minutes into the second half, it looked like the Dubs were heading for another loss. This is when the GOAT decided to turn things on. Watch here as Will scrambles to keep the ball in play for Jimmy. And pause here. Jimmy has the ball in the corner, Moody is going to be covered by Fox, and then there's that alien standing covering the entire paint. So what does Steph do? He waits for Jimmy to attack, running around the baseline behind Wemby, and then hitting the three. This is what has made Steph Curry so great. Not only is his shot perfect, is his release quick as lightning, and his ability to set himself so fantastic, but it's his ability to get himself in those positions. It's like this play in the fourth quarter, where after running around the Draymond screen and then going for the step back three over Wemby, it's a bit short, but he's just so quick to react every single time, and he's there to follow it up and knock down the three. Steph Curry could only take shots like this, and he would still be the greatest shooter ever. But the reason he's the greatest shooter there ever will be is because he can also do things like this, where this time he gives it up to Jimmy, quickly gets the screen, and how quickly he can pull up, even with Castle chasing him around that screen, is special. And once Steph sees a couple go in, I mean, you guys know the rest.
Curry for the lead, he got it!
But he wasn't done there, because this time with Champagnie pressing him so aggressively at the three-point line, Steph goes behind his back, driving into the paint, and the step-back jumper off the window. And this is what Steph can do if you want to take away the three-point shot. He's going to get a couple of steps inside the arc and then hit shots from the mid-range. He's going to get to the rim and then finish in ways that almost no one else can do. Occasionally, he might even get to the free throw line. And for everyone who has watched Steph Curry during his career, you know how funny a post like this is, where an opposition team is complaining about Steph's number of free throws. Because prior to this game, Steph hadn't had more than 8 free throws in a single match. Just to put that into perspective, there are 10 players in the league averaging more than 8 free throws a game, and that was Steph's season high prior to this match. And it was that third quarter which changed the entire game for the Dubs. Because with these teams back against the wall, Steph went off for 22 points on 7 shots, not missing a single free throw and helping give the Warriors a lead. We can't take this for granted. 37 years old against the second best defense in the league, against the best defender in the league, being chased all night by an elite defensive guard in Stephon Castle, who is 17 years younger and full of energy, and he still managed to drop 46 with his team needing every single one of those points. The Victor Wembanyama era might be very near, but beating a team with Steph Curry on it is never a guarantee. And it was up to Steph Curry even more than it normally is. Because with Kuminga leaving the game due to injury, the Warriors' depth was tested even more, particularly given how important Kuminga has been for this team this season. And when you look at Jonathan Kuminga's increased numbers, like I've said, what stands out isn't the scoring. It isn't even the efficiency, it is the jump in rebounding and even playmaking as well. Oh, and if you're wondering, this is Comet, Perplexity's new AI-powered web browser, which as you can see, can give you a visual representation of the improvement Kuminga has made with just a single prompt. Think of it as a built-in personal assistant that can help you do things across the internet effectively and efficiently. For instance, I don't just want to know the numbers JK is putting up, but I want to see the impact as well. So I could simply just ask Comet to find me the Warriors' net rating with Kuminga on the floor versus off the floor. And you can apply this to anything: studying, work, sport. Instead of having to open 7 different tabs to find numbers like this, you could simply ask Comet and they'll do the work for you. Like if I wanted to know more about Will Richard's strengths when he was drafted to the Warriors, I could simply ask Comet and get a detailed breakdown. And for a browser that would normally cost $2,000, as a viewer of the channel, you can get it free for a limited time with the link in the description. Now, when I say this was Steph Curry versus Victor Wembanyama, that's not entirely true. There are 2 other guys on this roster that deserve some credit for this game: Moses Moody and Jimmy Butler. If it wasn't for Moses Moody in that first half, the Warriors would have been cooked, because before Steph heated up, there was absolutely zero offense from the Dubs aside from Moses, who is back in the starting lineup, and I want to see in the starting lineup for the foreseeable future, because he is one guy that I know you can trust to get around screens, to stay engaged defensively, and to knock down threes. And then there's Jimmy Butler. This was the perfect Jimmy Butler game: 28 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, and 0 turnovers. We all know Jimmy isn't going to take 20 shots a night. That's just not something he is going to do. But if he can be efficient, if he can play make, and if he can also provide defense, that's where he can really impact the game. And it was the defense that really stood out to me tonight, because I mention it all the time, but when Jimmy Butler joined the Warriors, it wasn't the offense that turned their season around. It was them becoming the 2nd best defense in the league. It was them becoming like OKC with their ability to force turnovers and be active on defense all night long. I mean, just look at a play like this, where he is guarding Wemby. Yes, Wemby. He gets on the outside of him and then reaches across and strips him from the other side. And that's where you then see easier offense in transition off that defense. And you need those points off turnovers, because unfortunately, aside from JK's early season form and Moses, there just hasn't been enough consistent help offensively around Steph and around Jimmy. And Jimmy himself has also been inconsistent. I mean, Will Richard has probably been the Warriors' 5th best player this season. And it's great seeing a 2nd round pick look like an NBA level player already, but it's not great when you are relying on him to be a starter because everyone else is struggling. Now, if I were to make an excuse for this Warriors team, and quite simply, pretty much everyone aside from the guys I just mentioned haven't been good enough, but so far the Warriors have played more games than any other team in the league. They've already played 3 different back-to-backs and have a 4th back-to-back in a week against the Magic and Heat. If you wanted to give one of the oldest teams in the league the most difficult schedule possible, that's exactly what the Warriors have dealt with so far. Now, if you want to hear me talk about Will Richard, who's probably been the shining light of the Warriors season so far, click here. Subscribe for more content like this. Have a great day. Bye.